as well. So these are seasoned parents that we would wish to hear from and get to know their perspective with regard to the theme of our day on parenting children with special needs and disabilities under the main conference theme, which is parental empowerment and engagement in nurturing potential of children with disabilities. So without further ado, I'd like you to join me in welcoming Jackie and Jane to do their presentation. Karibuni sana.
I think we're in the afternoon session, so good afternoon, parents. I think Dr. Kembati has done an ample introduction, and therefore I will move towards our presentation today, which is about the experiences and challenges that we face as parents when we are parenting our children with special needs. Now, in the African context, and this also applies to our country, Kenya, special needs refers to children who experience disabilities, such as developmental and learning challenges, without presenting with obvious physical disabilities, and who struggle with comprehension to a greater extent than the average child. And that was our definition of what we needed to look at in that. Now, as parents, we have to raise our children in the best manner that we can, and that means providing everything we can for them. Now, the challenges we face when we're raising our children are basically made worse or more difficult by the factors that we exist in our natural environment, the environment which is our community that we live with. And these factors are, one, the attitude of the community. And I don't blame the community. This is because we, as parents in our role, most of us kept our children away from the community. We thought maybe the community was too harsh on our children or too harsh on us, depending on where you come from. And therefore, we kept that attitude. And this attitude has been passed on in the African context, the same way we pass on our anecdotes and stories. Yeah? The same way we pass off other issues. Then we have cultural beliefs. Depending on what community you come from in Kenya, there is a belief. Yesterday we had the NCPWD chairman tell us that where he comes from, they call anything to do with special needs and intellectual disability the place of fools, the school of fools, the teachers of fools. Where we come from, we probably have they are bewitched, yeah? They are cast, or whatever else we'll want to say about them. So those cultural beliefs also are a challenge to our raising them. Then we have institutional challenges. And when I'm talking about institutional challenges, I'm starting from our homes to churches, to schools, to restaurants. You actually find restaurants that say disabled people are not welcome, openly. Yeah, it looks like apartheid, where you're told if you're black, don't step in here. Yeah, and it also exacerbated in how our religious spaces take in our children. You find that some of us never go to church because our children are not welcome in those churches. But we need to find a way to change those experiences and be able to do what we need to do. And then we also have the challenges of being told that we, the mothers, have the improper responsibilities or relationships. That's why our children are disabled. So those are the cultural beliefs that will often have to be there. And therefore, as it was indicated by Harper in 2013, the abandonment of our family setups have nothing to do with the child. It has to do with our attitudes. The child didn't do anything wrong. It has to do with that, and we have to bear the brunt of raising those children because that is what needs to be done. And if I'm sure if some of us had a chance to run away the same way, if your partner did run away, mine didn't run away, he's still there, we would have also run away, Cindy. But we didn't get those chances, so we are there. Now, this study or this research was basically focused on the challenges faced by parents as they parent the children with learning disabilities in Kenya. We reviewed the challenges that are economic, social, cultural, technological, political, legal, and psychological in that process and how they affect us. We did a thematic analysis. Our target was 2,000 parents of a platform that we are in, and the sample constituting 30% was used for analysis to see where we are. So Based on those areas of our assessment, we found out that 80% of the respondents under family impact indicated that their family dynamics changed. If you were a couple when you got your child from hospital, you ended up being a single parent. In some cases, the dynamics changed to the point where the grandparents became the parents because both parents chose not to have the physical responsibility. And these dynamics were almost 90% negative. The first one was divorce. Yeah, where nobody wanted custody of the child, and therefore the mother ended up with the custody or the child ended up in an institution. The second one was single parenting, either the mother or the father. And then there was ostracization by the extended family and community. There were older or younger siblings acting out because of the amount of attention that had to be given to the newly diagnosed sibling or the one that you're raising. So the amount of attention being given to that one, the non-diverse siblings were acting out. We've had homicides where that particular child with special needs was gotten rid of, and it was gotten rid of in a manner that no medical or police investigation could come up with that, but stories extended. And then there's child abandonment, where both parents or one would take a child to a home, a special school, and probably even move counties or to another country just to simply ignore that. And that's why you'll find 18-year-olds still in special schools, 40-year-olds still in special schools. Now, these findings were because of the parents being mostly at the denial stage, and they got stuck in it. Every process has a product life cycle, but the respondents were candid enough to say that they stayed in that denial space. Most of them got depressed, and they were not giving attention to any other issues other than the special needs child, and therefore their family impact, by the time they rose to it was a new dynamic. Then there was a social impact. Now, the social setup in our country, this Kenya of ours, has excluded or kept the child with special needs in isolation. And this has also been supported by us parents, by us not aggressively or basically developing a thick skin and moving our child out into the public space. And what we've done, instead of being inclusive, we have created spaces that are not inclusive for all types of disabilities. If you want to go out and you have sensory issues, you'd have to think very hard, because every entertainment spot has the decibels over 20. Yeah, the normal ear handles 11 at the most. So when you go to a club and you find the decibels at 20 to 100, they become painful. Others have no accommodation in terms of lights, space to put a wheelchair, and the rest. Society has no good grasp of special needs, and when a community has no idea, it becomes hostile. I am going to use the COVID situation to explain this. When COVID landed on us, we had no idea what this COVID was. I think today we are better informed of COVID and what to do with COVID. But when we first saw COVID, we reacted the same way we reacted in the 1980s when AIDS landed. We were aggressive, we even fought each other, we put each other in jail, we killed each other. Yeah, we lost friendships, we locked ourselves up. So when a society has no idea about special needs, what do we expect as parents their reaction to be? They'll be hostile to our children. When my child flips and jumps in one place, when my child runs down the aisle of the church, that is not expected normal social behavior by the society. But who says that is normal social behavior? We should be able to change that. The effect of this social impact is that it has made the children and their parents socialize much harder as they feel the impact of that discrimination. We tend to look like we are fighting for everything. We want to be admitted in every space because we are aggressively putting that into place. And a staggering 100% of the respondents indicated that the structure in society is the biggest challenge they experience. Because our structure is patriarchal, and when the patriarch leaves the space, it leaves you open to every sort of abuse. Then the third finding was on financial impact in parenting these children. 72% of the respondents indicated that they struggle financially and socially. Not only to get the resources and materials for their children, because everything we need is expensive. In fact, if you mention you have a special need child, things become expensive. Here's an example. When you go to hospital consultation, it's 3,000 for everybody, or 2,000, right? The cheapest consultation a special parent can get is 5,000. Yeah? So The moment the word special needs comes in, that becomes an issue. Their diet and all the other things and their medication also becomes expensive. This was also an indication because most parents end up ending unemployed because the choice is to leave your special needs child locked up because maybe you can't take them to school or they're fully dependent, and therefore you can't be able to go get a full-time job, and therefore most caregivers are on the social discrimination of income. Yeah, they're hand to mouth, they're the $1 a day or $2 a day level of income. 22% of the respondents indicated having been terminated from their professions that are otherwise protected as employers who not give the off time for therapy sessions and clinics. I don't think that needs any more explanation. And the unfortunate thing is that the 22% respondents were all women. 12% of the respondents indicated they chose to take the financial downtime but be present to ensure interventions were done for their children. So they deliberately quit formal employment and were looking for different ways to make an income so that they could be able to take care of their children. Under the political and technological, we had the disconnect with the government and government agencies. From this study, there was a clear disconnect as to the needs of special needs parents and what the policy makers, implementers, and professionals are providing. Even among the three of them, the professionals, the implementers, and the policy makers, they seem to not be on the same page of agreement. 87% of the respondents indicated they had no idea what was the role of the government agencies as they seemed to punch above their weight. Most of them know they have to go to this institution and the other institution, but they really do not know what is the full role of that institution in their child's life and also in supporting the parent to parent their children. They also indicated they had no idea what role the government played in the care and support of the children they parented. Most have never seen a single government officer coming in to tell them this is what happens, or even the education on how to take care of your child better than you're doing. So you are relying on other people to tell you. The one recommendation that was coming from this, because I'm going to put it here before we go to the recommendation, was that government agencies need to leave their offices and meet them at homes and in their natural environment than ask the special needs parents to come to them. So essentially what they were saying is, if you're an education officer, come meet us in school. If you are a head of therapists, come meet us in therapy centers. If you're a social caregiver, come meet me in my home because the social I need to know about is the one in my home. Then there was the outcome of emotional and psychological impact. 100% of the respondents said they needed mental health support in terms of counseling and medication, which is not available to them, and therefore they have to punch through support from other parents. 5% of the respondents indicated they were under care of a health professional, and this we're talking about mental health space. 62% of the respondents indicated they cannot afford professional mental health care, but they know they need it. 70% of the respondents indicated that they did not want it known they were having mental health care, as this will further ostracize them in the society that has already ostracized their children. Accessibility for special needs services. 92% of the respondents indicated that accessibility of services was difficult to impossible, from a population of 2,000, 30% confirming. The list included inaccessibility of resources. If you have a non-verbal child and you want an AAC, it costs $650. You don't have that. Infrastructure. And the biggest example that was given is even future planned infrastructure is not taking care of even the obvious physical disability. And the example that was given by most parents and most respondents was the thicker BRT bridges. They are all stairs. And that is a future development that has happened when all the Disability Acts and knowledge in this age and time 2022 in place, which then shows the disconnect between the government agencies and the disability on the ground. They also talked about government services, schools, hospitals, qualified medical officers, work environment that are inclusive and accommodation. It was an endless list, and these were the most done. Work environment is an environment that will allow me probably to have a creche and come with my child so that I'm able to help and see my child, and my child has a professional. Qualified medical officers, Kenya may have as many doctors, but none are qualified in your disabilities. And therefore, you see who you see, even though they have no idea how to help you. This basically then leaves a huge challenge to the families isolated and unable to go places. Understanding and an awareness of what disability is. 82% indicated only having a vague understanding of special needs, and therefore they did not have access to the knowledge that they needed. Also, they lacked awareness of the availability of programs, services, and policies meant to benefit their children. 100% answered that the stereotype and prejudices regarding special needs were rampant in the community that they came from. A common finding was that with special needs children being raised by single parent units, mostly the mothers, who are also unemployed with less support from any other external source. On the 100% respondent, what was rampant on that prejudices is like when you go to hospital, instead of your doctor listening to the story that has brought you there, which could be pneumonia, a common cold, a broken leg, they'll only concentrate on the disability your child has, and that's not what you needed. Then there's self-care and support. On these, parents of children with special needs are often exhausted and frequently become depressed. The reserve of time and resources for self-care are even more depleted than of those other parents. Yet their needs for them to refuel, which is also greater, so that they can be able to take care of their kids. To be sustainable or sustained through the marathon of caring for a child with special needs, it's essential that these parents find or attend to their own needs, which in the special needs community does not happen. The most beneficial support and information parents receive comes from other parents of special needs children. In recognition of this, all our respondents belong to such a support network, physically and on social media, for purposes of this study. Then there is exhaustion and fatigue as a finding. Because they're on a 24/7 cycle, from the time of diagnosis or when that child is born, the parents are exhausted. It was suggested by parents that most of them suffer undiagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder that's higher than that experienced by combat soldiers. I hope there will be a psychologist one day to explain this to us. The difference that they gave is that the soldiers will leave the war front and go home for care. For a parent of a child with special needs, and also especially that are intellectual, they will never leave their war zone of care and alertness. They will also be able never to stop caring as long as that child is alive, because they're child for life, even when they're adults. Other findings was lack of places to go on vacation or retreats to relax, because the places are not accommodative. Communication. Parents seem sometimes to hear about what happens to their children or should happen to their children in reverse, and they don't have that information. They don't get to meet other parents other than the ones in their space or disability. They also lack security and secure places for them and their children. I'm sure you've seen in social media, and every week there are about 4 to 6 children who elope, and we are not sure whether we can be able to secure them in those spaces. How it's delivered to each parent on learning about their disability. Most of them felt it was done badly, because if a doctor tells you, oh, mama, your child has cerebral palsy, you go look for a special needs therapist in schools. And there's no counseling or a process to help you understand that, so it becomes traumatizing. There is need for more research, locating and accessing effective interventions and resources. So people in academia need to do that. There need to be new methods for coping with emotional and physical demands of caring for an individual with special needs. There needs to be many appointments with medical providers, and that makes it very challenging. A parent is the only advocate for appropriate school interventions, making it a harassment of their time. And paying for these interventions, in Kenya, they are not covered by health insurance or the school system. Therefore, it's a challenge. And then there's a reduced quality of life because you're never able to do anything for yourself. The recommendations that came from us, as researchers, we recommend that parents be educated on policy and resources available. And this basically will eradicate the poor policy education comprehension by the parents. And it will give them knowledge and maybe skills to discuss and advocate for their children's needs. Also, we need to be able, as parents, to remember that we have spouses, we have relationships, we have other children, and therefore we need to consider their effort. We need to ensure that everyone is talking and knows what is going on, so that it can help build patience and understanding among everyone. We should also try to join support groups. And we should also create more awareness. We should never stop creating more awareness, because there's none. There's need for healthcare providers to educate the parents on their children's conditions, their causes, and enlighten the masses. There's need for the Kenyan government to to take into consideration the plight of the parents of children with special needs in the country and make available the facilities to ease the challenges faced by this community, and especially the transition ones. Also, the facilities need to be affordable. Public transport should be mandated by law to have a seat and space reserved for persons with special needs, especially those who apply to sensory areas. Schools should be tasked with the duty of making children with special needs comfortable by providing accessible amenities and accommodations so that we ensure the children are not discriminated against them. Religious leaders and community leaders should be enlightened and mandated to encourage their members not to discriminate against people with special needs, but rather to encourage such parents as their support goes a long way to alleviate the stress and also include the children into that. Thank you. I'll take questions and answers.
Thank you very much. Let us do a bigger clap for Daktari. Yeah, we could not have had better. These are experiences from the parents, from a network of parents. And when she presents with her co-presenter, then that the next presenter. So I'll ask Jen and Jackie to be upstanding so that you can receive the questions. That is one. I only need 3 hands for the questions. I've noted your hand. You will go first. Number 2. Question number 2. Who else has a question for... yes, thank you. Those are 2. I need one last question or comment with regard to the presentation. Thank you. So he goes first, and then the lady, and then the last lady here.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Francis Getau, Iak, Kiambu County. I'm listening to you again, and yesterday I listened to you, Dr. Jen and Jackie, and I think I'm really impressed with the pressure you're putting on behalf of parents in that network. Sorry, just remind me the name of the network again?
Through the Roof.
Through the Roof. So my question is in regard to the area of awareness, understanding and awareness, because in the course of our work in functional assessment, out there in the field, one of the areas we have problems in include getting children a little bit, sorry, should I say late? You know, if you get a child who is 10 years, it's quite different from getting a child who is 3 or 4, because of course of what we call early intervention. So we may not ourselves be able to create all the awareness that we want to. So I just wanted to know how through the roof, how through the roof you may help us now to ensure that we really create awareness on especially the services that are at least available, including, for example, functional assessment and other services that we may have for children who have disabilities in this country, or at least in the area you represent. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. They have noted it. I'll go to the lady so that we have the 3 questions and then they respond. We have 3 slots. Sorry, we will give you a chance another time. Thank you.
My name is Angeline Nandra. I'm standing here as a parent, and I really appreciate a lot what I had since yesterday and today. I've really learned a lot, and to me it's a golden opportunity. I just heard through the radio and just brought myself. Yeah.
Wow, let's clap for that.
Yeah, and I thank God that I was accepted at the entrance because I didn't have any booking. Yeah, I've really learned a lot from you people. And as an adult learner, it becomes very difficult for some of us to listen and take notes. So I was just humbly requesting, if we have given our emails, if all this what has been presented can be sent to us, please, we'll appreciate. Because it will be like a referral to us, and it will help us also help other parents who are at home.
Thank you. I believe that is not for Jackie and Jane, that is for me. We will do that with the chair of the scientific team. Up to the next question.
Good afternoon, parents. I'm Aisha Mama KG. I just want to add something on what Dr. said about insurance. I want to understand why we always get different covers for special kids. If next time when we're having this, can we have guys from insurance to come and then we can...
Thank you. I think that is very important. We will also pick that for addressing, considering next time. Allow me to, because now they have one question to respond to. One was from him, and the other one was just a comment. Now, because there is a lady there who really requested, allow me to give an opportunity to ask a brief question, and then we give them an opportunity.
Good afternoon.
Now, ladies in the house are already begging for an opportunity. We will consider, but let her.
Okay, my name, I'm Lillian Limo. I want to, I've listened to parenting. That something I've not heard of is about disciplining. Are we supposed to discipline these children? And which are some of the strategies that the parents are able to use, so that also dependent.
Yes, discipline. I'll now give them an opportunity to respond to those three.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll answer the first one from the gentleman who's a NIAC. So how we work with parents in Through the Roof is this. So first, Through the Roof is an organization, is a network of parents, and the ones who are administrators, admins in the group are people who, by their own right, also lead different disability groups. So there are leaders who are leaders in CP, there are leaders who are leaders in Down syndrome, autism, and all of that. So all these people come together, and then we are under one umbrella because we have cross-cutting issues for disability. So in terms of how we can support even EACs and government services in awareness, one of the biggest things we believe in is parent-to-parent support. We do peer-to-peer support. How is peer-to-peer support done? You've come here and you don't belong to any support group at all, and you've heard there's a support group that works. You say, give me a link. So you're given a link and you join the WhatsApp group. You then go back home, and your neighbor also has a child with a disability. You don't sit with that information. You tell your neighbor. That's how we've been able to even multiply ourselves across the country. And that's how we've been able to help each other. For example, some of the common questions that come within the group usually are, I am in Kajiado, or I am in Kericho, or I am somewhere in Northeastern. Where is a therapist? As a parent, if you're trying to search out for that information on your own, it will take you forever to get it. But when you ask it, even when it is not a known answer immediately, believe you me, somebody is working very hard in the background to say, therapists wako wapi Northeastern, and you will get an answer. So we believe in parents supporting each other because not all of us can afford therapy services. For some of us, therapy services are not near us. So people come to the group and they ask something like, how do I toilet train my 7-year-old? Then parents will give you all the strategies that they have used because we are doing peer-to-peer support. And in the same way, when there's a policy issue that needs to be taken to government, we use the same mechanism. For example, recently when people were going for the new national council cards, we noticed there was an issue. The issue was that for some categories of disabilities, they were encountering issues with NCWPD officers telling them that that disability does not exist. So it comes back to the group. Why am I being told this? Then we pick it up. We are like National Council, mwache kuambia wazazi, 1, 2, 3. That's how we work for advocacy and in terms of agitating one for the other. Because trust me, as yourself, you cannot take all the issues to government. You know how many government offices you've knocked. But as together, there are some of us who are louder than others. So the ones who don't mind going and standing outside parliament with vibao kusema tunateseka will go. So in that way then we support each other. In terms of how we can support EACS is call us. Invite us and tell us that you're having issues. The reason why parents don't bring their kids early for intervention is because of culture. And Dr. Mwiruri mentioned it. When you come from a family setting, you're told very many things. You're told you're the cause of the disability. You're told you did not name the child the right way. You're told you must have done something in pregnancy. That's why your child is disabled. So as a parent, you're defeated fast. You don't know what to do. By the time uamke, and you realize that I should have done something, the child is 10. So it's not that parents don't want to take their children for assessment. It's that they are competing with culture, religion, and their own feelings of fear and disappointment and everything else they are feeling. By the time they realize it's too late, kwa hivyo msichoke. And when you have opportunities for public forums, talk to us, because we found out that parent-to-parent works. When I say I'm a parent of a child with a disability and I'm speaking to another parent, I'm able to give them possibilities. Discipline. Children with discipline is like the way I was saying yesterday, hormones don't wait for anybody. So discipline as well is needed for children with disability. All children need discipline. Discipline is not only for children who do not have disability, because you do not want your child to not be accepted in society when they are grown up. So you must show them the right way. And strategies must be child-specific and issue-specific. For example, for my son who is autistic, I can't keep for want of another word, punishment or discipline for something that he has done to tomorrow. So he's not the kind of child nitamwambia, tukifika nyumbani utaona. So what I have accepted is the issue must be addressed where it happens, there and then. And then we've done it stage by stage. And we've learned it from when he was small, that he knows, mommy has given me the first warning. So you warn, you just do discipline the way you would do other children. You warn again, and then the third time you say, I have told you 2 times, now you must be disciplined. And it must be age appropriate and to the extent the child can understand. So for my son, because he loves his phone, what works as punishment that he has learned to understand that he's done something wrong is the withdrawal of privileges. And you don't punish for long, because you also don't want them to start feeling unloved and unaccepted. So child-specific instantly and age-specific.
Thank you. I'll ask her to put her question down so that you nitawashika hawa so that they respond to your question. Please note it down and give it to our distiller. He's right here. Daktari, what is it?
I just want to, I've felt, because she has talked about discipline, and the paper I'm going to present next is related to that. What I would like to say is that whether a child has got a disability or they do not have a disability, they engage in problem behaviors or behavior disorders. And therefore, there are no specific strategies that you can say that these strategies are meant for children who have got disabilities and these ones are meant for other children. Apply, as she has said, apply a discipline measure according to the level of the child and according to, as in it should be related to the behavior, and it should be done immediately. Whether a child has got disability or not, whatever that you are applying, it should be immediate so that the child is able to relate the behavior and the response or the reaction so that they can be able to change. Thank you.
Very brief. Thank you. Now, I'm holding them so that you voice your question.
I'm just asking, wacha tunaongea na Kiswahili. After umepata ni mtoto, like for CP, situseme ni mtoto akifika ni kama 6 months you can notice, but unapata daktari akuambi, or in the hospital, they don't take us through. Maybe ulipata huyu mtoto this can happen, this can happen. So ukienda nyumbani, you have to do this, you have to do this. Like for me, sikuambiwa anything. So I used to see my baby, anashake mkono, anashake mguu. So ukiuliza daktari anakuambia that is normal for the small kids. I wish the doctors can tell us mapema so that tuanze kama ni therapy tunaanza mapema, acceptance ya huyo mtoto itakuwa haraka. Even us healing, we can do it haraka. Like for CP kids, they do choke a lot. Hata ujui mtoto nitamshika aje juu ya shingo, juu ya kumulisha nitamlisha aje. So I would request, ukishapata mtoto na daktari aone kuna kashida mahali, niketishe chini, uniambie this kid ako hivi na hivi, unamshika hivi. Juu mimi nilikuwa nikibeba ni mtoto wangu anaangalia juu, shingo iko hivi. Sasa uko kwa nje unaambia wewe mama, beba mtoto vizuri. Sasa mimi nilikuwa sana fan beba aje mtoto. Alafu eating, feeding, it's difficult for us. So please tell those wanatueleza juu kids are born kila siku with cerebral palsy. Ama? Okay, asante.
Clap for this parent. Singesamehewa hapa duniani if I never gave her an opportunity, and she has given a very good recommendation. I hope that has been picked. That is not for Jane and Jackie to respond, but for all of us to catch up with it and also be picked as a good recommendation. Allow me now to release these two wonderful ladies. Give them their claps as they march to the other hall for the next presentation. Thank you very much, and thank you, Daktari, for your support. I will now welcome the next presenter, our second presenter, who is none other than Dr. Lynette Ongera, the Coordinator of Research and Innovation at the Kenya Institute of Special Education. She has a wealth of experience in the SNE field. She will share with us her presentation and also her experience with regard to the theme for today. So let us hear Daktari. Karibu.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lynette Ongera. I work in this institution, and I'm aware here we have parents, we have professionals, and what I have noted is that, or rather what I noted as I was receiving the presentations, is that almost all the presentations, actually apart from this one, they were based on disability. There was no presentation which was based on parenting a child who has got a special need. We have disabilities and we have special needs. Now, special needs, disabilities are what we've been talking about since yesterday. Special needs are issues like behavior disorders. We have other disabilities that are not actually, other special needs which are not actually known. Like, for example, terminal illnesses that are not disability but are illnesses. So today then, I have a presentation on emotional and behavior disorders, because also emotional and behavior disorders or problem behaviors are special needs that parents have issues with or that teachers have issues with. And these problem behaviors or emotional and behavior disorders, they run across whether a child has a disability or does not have a disability. And emotional and behavior disorders, or children who have got emotional and behavior disorders, are on a continuum between behaviors which are very simple, like, for example, just simple disruptive behavior, like, for example, disturbing whatever that is going on, up to extreme behaviors like criminal behaviors, like, for example, being involved in rape. We have had children who are below the age of 18 or below the legal age who engage in criminal activities like rape, stealing, and many others. And these are the kind of children who you will find in probably rehabilitation schools or Boston schools. So I hope as I do this presentation, we will all learn from this presentation. So the topic of this presentation is relationship among parenting styles, learners' involvement in behavior problems, and academic performance. And this study was done in Nairobi County, here in Kenya. And probably I would like to talk about parenting styles because this is this is one of the major things that was a focus in this particular study. We based our parenting styles on some 4 types of parenting styles which were raised by someone called Diana Baumrind in the year 1966. And they are 4. I know as we read every day, we have more than 4, but this particular study based its development in these 4 types of parenting styles. We have permissive. Permissive are those parents who let their children drive everything. They rarely enforce any rules. You know, the children are left like that, like wild fruits. And then they overindulge the child. You know, there are those ones who call children kababa, kamama, mtoto akosi. Yani ni mtoto akona the same. Mtoto akililia hii anapewa and such like things. Then we have authoritative. Authoritative, these are parents who respond to the children's needs. At the same time, they demand responsibility from the children. These are parents who solve problems together with the children. They listen to the children. They talk with the children, but not to the children. And they have open communication. They tell the child this, and they allow the children to, to voice their views before they, they enforce whatever they enforce. These are parents who are firm, but at the same time, flexible. Then we have neglectful parents. Neglectful parents are those parents who are not involved in their children's upbringing. From yesterday, we've been seeing parents who are very, like they are so responsive. They want their children being taken care of. These are the kind of parents who we say they are responsive of their children's needs. At the same time, they demand for what their children should be able to be getting. But parents who are neglectful, they don't care. They don't care. Let come what may. They are like, for example, they are those ones who we say they are absent in their children's lives. They give birth to a child, they disappear. Whether it's a mother or a father, they just abandon their child. We have talked, from yesterday, we have talked about those parents who take their children to boarding school, leave them there, and they don't want to come for them. Or those parents who, when they have had a child with a disability, they leave it to the other parent and disappear from the child's lives. Some of them even have those children with them, but they don't care about them. And then we have parents who use authoritarian kind of style in bringing up their children. These are the parents who, they are the ones who have got the say in everything. It is either their way or the highway. And everything is parent-driven. The children have nothing to say about themselves or about any decision in regard to their own lives. These are the children who set very strict rules, very, very strict rules with their children. At the same time, they use many times when they're disciplining children, they use punitive strategies to discipline their children. And as I said, that it's parent-centered, and therefore the communication is two-way. They are the ones who say, you are doing this, you are doing this. The child has got no say. So it is based on these particular parenting styles. And then the learners' behavior disorders that this study focused about are not all, because we have several different types of behaviors or behavior problems, as I said, which are on a continuum. But in this study, I decided to focus on these 6 types of behaviors because of the group of children that I was looking at. I was actually doing a study on children who were in Form 3. These are, because we know very well that in Form 2, children, that is when there is the peak of like adolescence, the hormones are running a riot, and therefore children are getting involved in various behaviors. Then I decided to look at children who are in Form 3, at around their first term during Form 3. They have just left Form 2, now they have gone to Form 3. So children who engage in drug and substance abuse, so drug and substance abuse was one of the behaviors that I focused on. Teenage sex, student unrest, because even though even you've heard of strikes in school, and mostly they usually say it's either children who are in Form 3 or Form 4 who are involved in strikes. Then there is truancy, dropping out of school, and behaviors which are aggressive towards others or towards property. So the background of this study, basically, we know what parenting is. But most of the time, we assume that parenting is just parenting. What is this parenting? Parenting involves a lot of things. It's not just about giving birth to the child. It's not just about loving the child. It's not just about caring or supporting your child. Because parents, some of the parents think that when they have provided for their child, that is it. Parents, when you're a parent, you have got to do all these things. That is when you're a parent. So with being a parent involves providing physical care, support, love, and guidance, so that the child can be able to develop in a healthy way or in a wholesome way. Then probably it's good to look at what was happening in other areas vis-a-vis what was happening in Africa or in Kenya. In America or in the USA, in the 18th century, the state worked together to manage, the state and the church worked together to manage the behaviors of the children. And this was based on the strict interpretation of the Bible. What does the Bible say about child upbringing? Spare the rod. So that is what they used to do. That was back in the 18th century. And then in Europe, before Christianity started spreading there, especially like, for example, in Greece, the Spartans of Greece, they raised their children, exposing them to very harsh conditions, very, very tough conditions, because they believed that every child is born evil. And therefore, children were exposed to very harsh conditions, because it was believed if they are exposed to harsh conditions, then they will grow up when they are disciplined. Of course, this is almost like what was being done in Africa or in Kenya. And then, in the traditional African society, we know that children belonged to the community. Unlike what is there today, children belonged to the community. Just like Sylvia was saying yesterday, parents, anybody could discipline a child. But right now, it is not the case. So it's against that background that this study is based on. And also, you realize that nowadays, as we've heard from yesterday, there are parents groups, support groups. We have parents magazines. On Facebook, on social media, we usually see how people are giving advice. Even there's advice on the internet. If you Google, you will get advice on how to take care of your child, and sorts of advice or sorts of all sorts of advice on how to bring up the child. Even when you go to church, they talk about how you should be able to bring your child and all that. But despite all that guidance, children are still engaging in in behavior disorders. Like in Kenya, usually here, children in school, they have gone on strike, they have damaged property, children are doing this, children are doing that, children are becoming pregnant. Like the other day in the media, we were being told about how many children of primary school have become pregnant and such like things. So therefore, it's against this background that this study was set. So these behavior problems, at the end of the day, they have an impact on children's academic performance. Not only academic performance, but overall growth. But in this study, we were looking at what is this interaction among parenting styles, these behavior problems, and academic performance. So the modern world has seen a lot of changes in the family trends. Like we have different families. We have blended families, we have single parent families, we have broken families, we have all sorts of families. We even have gay parents, you know, only women or only ladies raising up a child as a family, or only men raising up a child as a family. All these things have resulted in children's involvement in behavior problems. There were 4 objectives to this study, and the first objective was factors that influence parenting styles. We wanted to find out what are these factors that influence parenting styles, especially in Nairobi County, Kenya. And then to establish the influence of parenting styles on learners' involvement in behavior problems, to determine the influence of involvement in behavior problems on learners' academic performance, and lastly, the relationship between parenting styles and learners' academic performance in this Nairobi city. Now, this study was a cross-sectional descriptive survey, which involved both quantitative and qualitative methods. Quantitative data was collected from the students, that is the Form 3 students, using questionnaires, and qualitative data was collected from parents using interview schedules. There were 3 variables in this study, that is parenting styles, children's behavior problems, and academic performance. The study was carried out in Nairobi County, and in this Nairobi County, we have we have around 9 sub-counties, but then I targeted only 3 sub-counties, that is Dagoretti, Lang'ata, and Starehe, and I only focused on students who were in public schools, public secondary schools, because we have international schools, we have private secondary schools, but I drew the students only from public schools. And the parents of these children were also targeted. Not necessarily the parents who were selected, the children who were selected from, parents of children who were selected from the study, but parents who had children in Form 3. So we used a multi-stage random sampling technique where we sampled 400 students who were in Form 3 and a total of 40 parents. And as I said earlier, so the main tools for this study were questionnaires, the interview schedules, as I had said earlier. So the findings in relation to in relation to, you can hear me? Okay, so in relation to objective 1, that is factors that influence parenting styles, when parents were interviewed, they said that a majority of the parents said that media, modern technology, dual career, tight schedules, family conflicts, divorce, daily stresses, family crises, and socioeconomic factors affected they were parenting their children. Some said those ones who are in careers that took them away from their children for a very long time said that that is the reason why they have to. It's working. Check. It's me who is supposed to put it very close to. Okay. So then, again, a majority of parents again said that, or rather, they reported that their children, they were watching TV too much, like watching TV or even watching movies on their phones. It's called Netflix, isn't it? And then some were taking too much time in listening to music in their rooms, using the headphones and not wanting to talk to anyone. And yet others were involved in surfing the internet throughout. But of course, who provided those phones where the children were surfing the internet? Who provides the internet? Who pays for Wi-Fi? As parents. So a majority of the parents also said that they were dual career. Like yesterday, you had the keynote speaker, Dr. Leibuta, saying he usually has 2 jobs, isn't it? So dual career is about having more than one, a job or 2 jobs, or 3 or even more than that. So because they were involved too much in their careers, then they had very little time to watch over their children, and therefore had less control on their children. Even they didn't even know what their children were involved in or who their friends were. In relation to objective 2, that is influence of parenting styles on learners' involvement in behavior problems, that is the kind of parenting style that the parent was using vis-a-vis how their children were getting involved in problem behaviors. A majority of parents they said that they use authoritative parenting style. This is because of the way they were asked questions indicative of the parenting style that they were using. So a majority of parents, the way they responded, they were using authoritative parenting style, and less than a quarter of parents were using permissive parenting style. Remember, I told you what the parenting styles are. And then very few parents were either authoritarian or neglectful. A majority of children with authoritative parents had never engaged in behavior disorders, because as we had many parents who said that, or rather a majority of parents said that they were using authoritative parenting style, but when we were talking about the children, because the children were self-reporting themselves about engaging in behavior disorders, we found that those children who indicated that their parents were authoritative, they very few of them engaged in behavior disorders. Then authoritarian parenting style was found to be highly correlated with children's behavior disorders. As in those parents who said that they were, they were too strict on their children, they are the ones who had the say and all that, it emerged that their children were more involved in behavior disorders. Almost half of the children with permissive parents engaged in behavior disorders. Almost half of the children whose parents gave them too much freedom engaged in behavior disorders. Then a majority of children with uninvolved or neglectful parents engaged in behavior disorders, as compared to those parents who used other parenting styles. Now, in this case, children were self-reporting that they were engaging in behavior disorders. And when we were asking them about their parents, these are the children who were saying, my father doesn't even care what time I come home. My mother doesn't even care what I go through. Even when they know that I'm smoking, they don't ask me. This included both boys and girls. So that is how I got to relate that. In relation to objective 3, which was about the influence of involvement in behavior problems on learners' academic performance, the findings revealed that less than a quarter of children were being in school, while they're in school. So they agreed that, some of them agreed that they engage in drug and substance abuse, and still others said that they engaged in teenage sex. Others even said that they had started engaging in sex from the time they were 8 years, 9 years, and all that. And then others agreed that they engaged in student unrest, as in they even alluded to starting strikes in their schools. Others said that they are trans. Others said even that they have even dropped out of school right from primary school. They used to drop out of school and then they are forced back to school. And others still said that they engage in aggressive behaviors towards other students, and even destroying property in school and at home, and even in the community. Less than a quarter of parents reported that their children abused drugs. You see? Are you seeing the relation between the two? Many children said that they engage in behavior disorders, isn't it? But here are parents, the same parents of these children said that very few parents accepted that children engage in behavior problems. What does that tell us? We don't know, as parents, we don't know our children. Or we know our children, we know that they engage in behavior disorders, but we don't want to accept that our children engage in behavior disorders. Our children are running away from school, our children are destroying property, our children are engaging in crime. We know, but we don't want to accept. Then a majority of parents reported that they did not know whether their children engaged in behavior disorders. And then all behavior disorders significantly affected children's academic performance. And here we were looking at the academic performance as in their overall academic performance at the end of their first year, that is Form 1, and the end of their second year, that was Form 2. And we were looking at what grades they scored, because we know the grading system of 844 from A to E. So a majority of those children who said that they engaged in behavior disorders, when we looked at their records, they were performing very poorly. It's therefore indicated, we can therefore say that behavior disorders significantly affect in relation to objective 4, that is the relationship between parenting styles and learning academic performance. The findings revealed that authoritative parenting was positively related with academic performance, and almost half of the children of authoritative parents scored grade B and above. And also more scored grade A as compared to others from when we looked at their examination results. Authoritarian, permissive, and involved or neglective parenting styles were found to be negatively correlated with children's academic performance. And therefore, we concluded that, or I concluded that a majority of parents, I'm concluding, that a majority of parents used authoritative parenting style in bringing up their children, with a few of them using permissive and authoritarian parenting styles. Children of authoritative parents showed fewer behavior disorders compared to children of parents who used authoritarian, permissive, and neglectful or an involved parenting style. So here, parents, we have a choice to make of which parenting style that we need to use, whether our children have disability or not. Then authoritative parenting style was positively correlated to academic performance. So if you think that you're using authoritarian, or you're being forceful so that your children can perform better, you're forcing them to do things, you're forcing them to study, that will not make them to perform better in school. And therefore, children engaged in various behavior disorders, although a majority of parents were not aware. Sorry, can I make recommendations and finish? Just 4 recommendations. That the ministry should formulate a policy on education of children with emotional and behavior disorders, so that it captures children, because some of the children engage in behavior disorders, but they don't show openly. They keep it inside themselves. Parents should strive to know their children's whereabouts or monitor their activities, as this can protect them from engaging in behavior disorders. And don't think that when your child is at home and in the bedroom, they are safe. Even if they are in the bedroom, try to check what are they doing. Parents should purpose and dedicate quality time with their children, dialogue with them, listen to their concerns, and address them effectively. So constantly communicate to your children, have an open door policy so that your child can tell you a lot more, and be a friend to your child so that they can be able to be open to you. Parents should seek to know their children's friends, their places of residence, and possibly the parents of those children, so that you don't come to get a shocker. And then research can also be carried out to find out, other than parenting styles, what else makes children to behave the way they behave. Thank you very much. And probably...
Thank you. Let us give a clap to Daktari. Yes, she has introduced us and taken us through the journey of a child with emotional and behavioral difficulties. And these children are there in our homes, and therefore how we parent our children matters a lot. So we have one more presenter. We initially had two, but one was also presenting the other end. So we have one more presenter, and I beg that we still stay put so that we listen to him. He has also a lot to say. But Daktari will hold on. If you have a question for Daktari with regard to her presentation, I would kindly request that you note it down. I will call her here together with the next presenter so that after he is through, then we will have a round of questions as we also prepare to break for lunch. So allow me now to introduce to you Dr. Warui Mwangi, who has been a teacher for a long duration of 28 years, has been a principal, a deputy principal and also a principal in Kitui, and currently is a lecturer of mathematics at the University of Egerton. So let us clap for him as he comes to give us his presentation. Karibu, Daktari.
Hello. Hello. I am a teacher by profession. And one, I am presenting this paper because of a reason. And the reason is, I was posted in a school. And when I was posted, when I went to the office that I was given, somebody was conversing so loudly. We have been brought a deputy who is disabled. Will he be in a position to take care of the discipline? And then I was hearing. I said, wow. Then he went ahead. And then was, what do you think could have happened to him? Then the person said, vile anakaa, huyu jamaa, ni kama alipata polio akiwa mdogo. And I said, wow, I didn't know that I got polio. Then I looked at the situation and I asked, no, this person doesn't know what I've gone through. Then they need to be taught. Then, unfortunately, there was a student who was near, and he overheard. When I was walking in the corridors, then the student asked, Mwalim, what happened to your leg? And I said, wow. Then I think this one they should know. One day, I went to the assembly, and I said, thank to Matiangi for making sure that students do not copy exams. I was born very normal for 2 years. Then one day, I became sick, and I was taken to a hospital. Then, who is injecting me? A cleaner. A cleaner. What did he do? He pierced my nerve. And that's the story of my disability. Then, it was quite unfortunate for my mother, who has just lost our firstborn. Then here she is, with a secondborn, who is now disabled. And I looked at my mother when I was growing up, as she told me the story, and I said, wow, this woman has gone through a lot. This lady has gone through a lot. I looked at my dad, and I said, wow, these people have done so much. It's only that it was unfortunate. They would not have been here because of a few challenges. Let's go to my title. Children with disabilities, experiences, and challenges as parents impact in self-positive, they're positive. Then self-confidence, brave, and hardworking. That you live with a disability the rest of your life. Then what did my parents do? Then this paper was prepared by me and my 2 daughters. I have 4 children, 1 son and 3 daughters. Those 2, one has just winded up with her university education, that's Ruth, and Anne is a 3rd year of university. And I wanted to mentor them into this world of academic. And they did a lot of the research. By then, when I started writing the paper, I was a principal in that school called Kambusu, which is in Mwingi. It is on child's perspective. Now, there's a lot of joy for a parent who is prepared as you wait for the coming of a child. And as you wait, definitely there are fears and uncertainty. What happens? And the joy is only revealed when the midwife breaks this good news. You are a happy parent with a bouncing baby boy or girl. But then, unfortunate, if it is the other side, where Ayuko, it is worse. But then, the parents would want to have a child. And whatever the condition. One parent cited saying, I wish my child would have lived. This child was born without ribs. And unfortunately, the child died on the delivery table. And then the parent was there. I wish my child would have lived. I won't mind carrying this child the rest of my life. When I'm told, that's the joy of a parent. A clap for the parents. Thank you. Now, there are various disabilities. I don't want to go to them. But my interest was in the physical disability. The age I was interested in, 17 years and below. And a person like me who grew up with a disability. These people have a story to tell about what they went through and what their parents did to make them who they are today. Wow. Look at many situations that we find ourselves in. You stare at a person with a disability. And many of us, you walk with them. Anatoka hapo, you follow the person up to there. Have you at any one time asked yourself that as you stare at the person walking and you follow the person, what goes in the mind of that person? And then you have questions. Who will answer your questions? Nobody. And that's why these forums are good, that we can share our story that has never been heard. Then I'm saying these forums are good. Very good. Then I'm saying the same people with a disability, they have a story about their success, which is only shared. The parents know where we have come from. You have never known it. As adults, we live with disability. We have come across a lot of things. Then I'm asking, are we confident? Are we brave? Do we have self-confidence? Are we positive in life? And then, are we hardworking? Then, this platform is good. There are people dying down there who want to vent out what is in them. Even those who do physics, you know, once you put in a lot of heat, why do we put a chimney? Why? So that the pressure that is inside gets out. And these people living with disabilities and their parents, they have a lot of pressure inside. How will it get out? How do we get it out? And the avenues are what we have started. And then this one should come down to where I am in Makueni, such that it will be easier for me and anybody else. The purpose of the study is just as I'd explained about my title. Then the objectives, find out the experiences and challenges of people living with a disability. What are their experience? Can they share? Find out the impact the parents had on these children. Very important. So that as we do so many things helping this child, remember there's a parent neglected who need to be trained. The significance of the study, there's so many things. Wow. KICD. Then there is KISE, National Council of People with Disability. Then you need to know this. And please, come down to where we are. And then you share with us. I don't want to share so much about the literature. Parents have suffered mental, physical, social, psychological due to stigma. Culturally, our parents have been rejected. There's availability of resources. Amuna, look at the issue of health. So expensive. Every parent is complaining. Now, we are demanding, very demanding, problematic. Then we need help. What are the children saying? We are rejected. At times we feel that we are inferior. The community has misconception and the stigma. There are things that needs to help us. Like now, my foot. The difference is 6 centimeters. I needed a foot that would have been making me move on very well. Sikupata. I moved on well. We have been violently attacked by people. And there's a question I also asked. Those people who are living with disabilities, have you also attacked others? Then we'll be seeing the results as we move on. The theoretical framework. I loved this person called Susan David, who said, defines emotional agility is a revolutionary approach that allows us to navigate the life's twists and turns with self-acceptance, self-confidence, visionary, and an open mind. That's what we need as people living with disability. Where, when a person is equipped with self-acceptance as a person living with disability, that person will have a smooth life. Then, open-mindedness, very important. Some of us are closed mind, that it is this way or that way. All of us, we need to move. For a person who is open-minded will accept their history, which mine accepted. They are ready to embrace change and different values, traditions. I have no problem with the community. I accepted. Then there are so many people who influence us and make the impact in us. But I was looking at the impact of the parents. There are others, the peers, the community, and the social media. Cross-sectional design. My area, Kitui, and Makueni. I'm a resident of Makueni. The age is given there. Now, it was very difficult to get those people in the category. And what did I do? We have a wall of people with disability. That's where we started. With a small group who was fitting that condition that I had given. Then we used snowball sampling procedure. I started with those few, and then by the end of the day, as we are moving on, we had reached very many people who are in that category. Then I ended up with 53 participants. Then we used a questionnaire. Some of them were like, no, Daktari, I want us to talk one-on-one. And I made a provision for that I met them one-on-one. And some of them were giving very worrying stories. That's my data. Those are the people that I ended up with in all categories. Over 50 years were 10, 12, 36 to 50, and so on. Those are the people I dealt with. Then, fortunately or unfortunately for me, the social people that I was interacting with, majority of them were teachers. And that's why you find majority of my people were university graduates. then those are the people that who we managed to get their majority in the wall. And then I was asking, there's another one down there who is not in this wall. What we communicate here, they don't know. And then the members were like, we need to do it differently. The category of ages, at birth, 15. Then 5 years and below, they were 17. 11, 5 to 10. 17 to 10, they were 9. And one who was rightly above my threshold, but I accepted the person. Now, those are, I was interested. You know, there's something that cannot be hidden. I was sharing with somebody who is disabled, but you can't see it. And he told me, I am unfortunate. You know, I don't have a stomach. And I was, what? Mimi sina tumbo. Yako ilienda wapi? It was removed. And then was God. As we walk, for me, you would see it. But this person is suffering inside and you don't know. And then I said, wow, let me deal with what we can see. And those ones that we could see, you are seeing the legs like mine. You are seeing the arms. Wow. Others, you would see the skin. It cannot be hidden. It is everywhere. And then unaiangalia unaona kweli hapa. Visual. I came across another one. Hii pata hakuna, hii hakuna. And you can imagine ukikutana na mtu hapa hakuna. Then is wow. Then I met another one. Huku hakuna. And then I was asking our biology teacher. Now, sasa hii nayo, hii hakuna na hii hakuna. How do these people survive? And I was, they have a problem of tapping the sound. And then I said, wow. Then the others who had a problem of the spine. Those are the people I interacted with. The way they are. And then I was like, wow. It's a challenge. Then I asked them questions. Have you ever been rejected? And I want you to concentrate on that bit of strongly agreeing. I never added up, but we can do a simple mathematics. 19 plus 42, that's 61. Agreed. We were rejected. 36. Oh, we were not rejected. Then somebody said, we don't need sympathy. We need you to understand us and walk this journey with us. And I asked them, have you ever experienced empathy as a person living with disability? And 65 of them, they were saying, mimi, the people I interact with, wakati mwingine wananielewa. They are not sympathizing. No, they understand. And that's why you go to a line, and then it's like, oh, see, huyu akisimama for long, Peter, because unamuelewa. Na wewe uko pale, kila kitu is intact, and then somebody is there and standing, and then it's, oh. One time, I sat down when the national anthem was being prayed, and I was thoroughly worked on by our head teacher. That time, my leg had become numb, and then was like, I can no longer stand again. I sat down, and I was worked on. Wewe, you don't respect bedra yetu. And I wish he knew what I was going through. Then, have we been stigmatized? Yes, 78% said they have been stigmatized. Have you ever been discriminated upon? 88 saying yes. We have. We have. Have you ever suffered from inferiority complex? That you are feeling inferior. Majority did not want to accept. And they said, 74%. Me, I don't feel inferior. Niko sawa. But then still, 20% said that there are times they have looked at their life and it's like, I think this person is better than me. And I said, no, go. Then, have you ever been denied participation in the community? 51 said no. But then 27 said they have. Then, I was violently attacked. And violence attacked. 61 said no. That 6 said yes. Then this one was omitted when I was presenting. Have you ever attacked somebody and you are suffering from disability? Then 87 said no. But 27 confirmed that Mimi nimewa attack. Yeah. I have defended myself and I've attacked people. Then there's the issue of what we require. I'm handicapped and I need mobility. 48 said they are not handicapped with mobility. 48 again say they need mobility. Then there's those ones who require adaptive clothing and age. 85. Hizo vitu hatuna. Na tukapata, life will be better for us. Then we go to the parent. Let's go to the parent. My parent impacted in me positivity in life. And 66 are saying, yes, my parent made me positive. Then that 2 say no. My parent made me brave to face the life without fear. 56 says yes. 40 says no. My parent helped me to develop self-confidence. 20 says no. Atuwasaidii, wazazi hawatusaidii to develop the self-confidence. But then 76 says yes, you are helped. Then my parents impacted in me hard working skills. 92 said their parents made them hard working. And 6 said no. 6 said no. Then that's the data. Graphical. I want to share that personal story. Kidogo tu. One of the persons I came across with he became disabled due to accident and he was amputated. He has no leg. Then fortunately for him, he maneuvered the ways and he ended up in the university, graduated to become a teacher. And what is this guy doing? He has graduated, go to schools, 15 of them attempt. And when he presents himself, and then you see a person coming with then he's told, okay, we'll call you, we'll make arrangement, we'll call you. On the following day to realize somebody else was picked. And this happened 7 times. And then was like, yeah, see maisha ni ngumu. Then why are these people discriminating me? I can deliver. Thank God for TSC. That this one, the recruitment that happened the other time. This person came and they both graduated the same year. And everybody was according to the scheme. If this person stands up, chapter closed, this is the person we are picking. And then everybody was holding the breath, waiting. Wakati alionekana akiingia, the other said, kameiva. Kameiva. Huyo jamaa amepata kazi. And then was, congratulations. And was like, kwa nini? Si kazi ni yako. And was, oh, okay. He got the job. He got the job. Now, this part of my story. One day, that was supposed to have been 6 years, not 7. I thank my parents who made me work very hard. And they told me I am not in any way unable to do what the others are doing. And one of my teachers helped me to know that I am differently abled. When you are running and I would run, then I'll be defeated. One day, he changed the mood. And he said, this time round, we'll run. Hold your leg, and we go. Believe you me, I gave them a gap. That was history in that school. And then was, even our best 100 meters boys would not get me where I was. Because my leg, this one, took the strength ya hii ikaongezwa hapa. And then I beat them properly. And then from there was, wow. Then I went, I told my father, Dad, imagine, ile mbio ya mguu moja, ni mimi niliongoza. Then akaniambia, wewe ni mwanaume. Wewe ndiye mwanaume. And then he added something. He said, let me put it the way he said it in Kikuyu. Otile modurume nyeje. Let me translate. There is no man who is a cockroach. And then was, wow. Whenever I would walk, I would know, where? You have strength there. Yangu ni padi hii. Tushidane, tuingie kwa uwaja. Utaona vile nitakuacha. Then fortunately or unfortunate for me, that when I was walking, I did, because my parent encouraged me, I got into the walk. The 10,000 meters walk kwa shule. And then I started walking. What happened? At the school level, I was number 2. And was, wow, this guy needs to go to the zonal. And that's the story. Then here I am. Went for the zonal. And I am in the field. Then, a day that I will never forget. A mwalimu comes and shout from that corner, what is that hyena doing in the field, in the track? And then let me walk. And you look at the way I'm walking. For those who have seen hyenas, I wish I would have got I have the picture of the hyena, but I would have wished you get the hyena walking. And then you compare me and the hyena. Then here I am. I am walking. Wow. At one time I almost thought I'm walking like a hyena. But when I went home and I told my father, then he said, wow, what a sad day, as I wind up. This is what my father told me. My dad told me never to argue with a fool. People may never notice the difference. This one came to ring in me many years later. And this is what I did. Can you see a hyena? Does it have a tail? Does it have a tail? Then I walked. Then I did like this. And then I asked, I cannot feel the tail. I cannot feel the tail. Then I said, wow, this teacher cannot differentiate between a tail and our roe. Hello? Hello? Si kusema kitu ingine. A person who cannot differentiate a hyena and our roe ni nani? Ni nani? Sini huyu. Sikumuita. Mimi sikusema. Sikusema. Lakini nikaachana na yeye. Let me conclude. As I'm saying, the study found that children with disability, parents play a very key role. And they need to be involved. Provide an avenue for them such that they will be in a position to mentor their kids in a better way. What am I recommending? Before I go to recommendation, the other things. All stakeholders dealing with this, please frequently organize this. Then we vent out and we feel good. And encourage mentorship. We encourage KISE, ileteni makueni. Kujeni makueni. Then, those are my recommendation. Thank you.
Let's do a better clap for Daktari. Yes, our support systems and the role of us, the parents, and the importance of adaptations. Remember the teacher who made adaptations to the race? Yes, that is very critical. So I'll call Dr. Ongera and Dr. Warui so that whoever has a question, I will pick 3 questions, 4 questions, 2 from this side and 2 from this side for both of them. So right as you say your question, as you voice it out, make sure you indicate to who it is directed. Daktari, kindly, both of you. So I have the 2 here with me. I need 4 hands. Yes, I have 1 gentleman and 1 gentleman. I'll pick those 2. Another 2. Now, ladies, due to public demand. Yes, I have a lady there. Another lady this side. All right, so I'll start with the gentleman. Please hand over the mic. Then we'll go to the second gentleman, then the lady.
Yeah, good afternoon. Dr. Ngora was hard on me yesterday, so I'm going to be hard on her today. I think it's a really very interesting research, and my question goes to Dr. Ngora. I think we all know the parenting styles make huge difference on our children, the way children behave. You highlighted quite very important point around teenage pregnancy and the children getting pregnant at an early stage. So I'm just looking at which particular parenting style, you know, the 4 parenting styles you mentioned, which particular parenting styles that you see this sort of behavior, children becoming unruly and they engage with inappropriate sexual interaction with others. So which one actually that was more prevalent compared to the others? Thank you.
Thank you. That is a question directed to Dr. Ongera. I'll have the other question raised. Keep.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Martin Nyoike, and I also have a question for Dr. Ongera. I would have also asked which in her recommendation parenting style does she think is the best one for children, especially those with disabilities. So, but having that question asked, I'll turn to other forms of that can define behaviors, and they include socialization. So we understand that children have, the immediate socialization is the primary socialization that children gain from their parents, and then we move to the education aspects, and then there is this other aspect of the social media. So my question is in terms of involvement. At the primary level of socialization, we find that mothers are, in a way, involved highly in socializing their children at the primary level. At the secondary level, it's the teachers and the society. But now, what position are fathers taking in this regard on socializing children? Because you'll see that at the end, now we will see differential aspects for children who have been brought up by a single parent and those that have been brought up by both parents, and also their involvement being a present dad or an absent dad. So mine is in regard to now in terms of the gender and also involvement in parental aspects. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are 2 questions for Dr. Ongera. I wish to have questions for Dr. Warui. Let's hear from the lady.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nancy Muringo, a student here at KISE. I was to ask Jackie concerning the parental support. I have a mom friend in Isiolo. Her kid has apart syndrome, and she wants to know how she can help her child. Her child is 4 years old and still at home. The child is not yet able to join the others in school. She wants to be helped as a mom, how she can be able to help her child. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy, for that question. I believe we should be able to link you up with Jackie so that she's able to guide the parent. Any other question? The last person to ask the question, so that I give now the presenters an opportunity to respond. So, Daktari Ongera, I'll give you the mic first.
Thank you very much. I think let me start with the question that was meant for Nancy. And the same question was asked. You asked the same question yesterday in the other forum. And you talked about apart syndrome. As I was with them, they were even struggling. What is the spelling of that apart syndrome? But probably what I would like to say about syndromes, a syndrome is just, it's called a syndrome because it's got a variety of characteristics that are pointing towards what's happening. And I think it was answered that probably that can be best looked at by a doctor. Like, for example, I have never heard of that apart syndrome, but I would like to know the spelling of that apart syndrome so that I can also do more probably research on that. Thank you so much, Abdi Shakur, for the question you asked, that which particular parenting style is many children, that leads to children engaging in behavior disorders. What I would like to say is that from the study, it was authoritarian parenting style from the study. And remember, the study was only in 3 sub-counties and about 400 children and 40 parents. What I would like to say is this. Those parents who are not involved in their children's lives, those ones who give children too much freedom, and those ones who are authoritative, their children do not turn out as bad, or a majority of their children do not turn out as engaging in behavior disorders. But those parents who think that they are very strict to their children, they are putting boundaries, they are the ones, mimi ndio kusema, you don't come to my house before this time, you don't do this, you don't do that, and when I say this, you must do, their children get rebellious. I don't know how many of you will agree with me that when you use a forceful style, that is why you are highly likely to find that children, a majority of children of pastors, of church elders and all that, who are very strict, they don't turn out well. And I have that experience. I don't belong to that, but at least I've seen. The second question, which was on, that according to me, which one is the best style, probably what I would like to say, there are actually around 5. I talked about 4 parenting styles. I said authoritative, authoritarian, permissive, and neglectful or uninvolved. We have another one which is called helicopter style. Yeah, helicopter style, you're all over the place. Then there is even that one where we parent over the phone. So even when you're here, you're calling home and asking what is happening. Or when you're at work, you're calling and asking what's happening. So therefore, the best, as was found by this study, was authoritative. Authoritative. And authoritative is where you are firm but flexible. You listen to your child, you keep an open communication, you become your child's friend, you communicate with your child. So you are firm but flexible. And you realize that as a parent, whether you are a parent of a child with disability or your child has no disability, everyone engages in behavior problems, whether you have a disability or not. So therefore, as a parent, when you're using authoritative, it's like you're mixing some very little authoritarian, you are a little permissive, but then you are firm and flexible. Even when you read many studies, they point towards authoritative. There are so many studies that have been conducted on parenting styles. Then you're talking about what the other factors that contribute to behavior disorders. Actually, there are an array of factors that contribute to behavior disorders. The first one could be biological disorders within the child. Like, for example, when a child has got a disability, like those children who have got autism, those children who have got emotional, those children who have got intellectual disability and all that, they engage in behavior problems not because they want to, but because they have a disability. And then we have family factors. There are so many family factors that make a child to behave the way they behave. You talked about socialization. And socialization starts from the family, starting with the parenting styles, starting with the type of family, where they live, the socioeconomic status, the structure of that family, how the people in the family socialize with the child, and things like that. And then from the family, the child goes to church. How does the church socialize the children? It depends on the church you go to. When you're a Muslim, you realize Muslims, from the time the children are very small, they dress in a particular way because that is how the child wants them. There are some education they go through in the church and things like that, according to the Muslim doctrine. When you come to Christian churches, the same thing. Like, I was born and brought up in Seventh-day Adventist. Seventh-day Adventists in the house, they are shy. There is a particular way you are supposed to be behaving. So religion also has a part to play. There is the other social factors, like, for example, the Western culture. So many other factors that can make children to behave the way they behave, including all school factors, the curriculum, the peers, and things like that. So therefore, there are so many other factors that cause emotional and behavior disorders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let us appreciate Daktari, and we also appreciate Dr. Warui for their presentations. I had 3 presenters. The first one was done by Dr. Mwiruri, then Dr. Ongera, and Dr. Warui. So we are privileged to have received from them. So ours is to now give more recommendations when we get an opportunity. I know Dr. Warui wants to say something as I release them from the floor.
Thank you. Hello. One of the things that is failing us parents is fighting our wars. Please, don't fight my war as a person with a disability. Give me the skills to fight for myself, such that when a child is thrown off the slide and you go there, arms up, then what are you telling the child? What will happen when you are not there? Please stop fighting our wars. Parents, please ensure you guide your kids very well. This leg was a club. Actually, it was supposed to be a club. But my mother was so tough on me, and then was like, "Ata heri we unaenda hivi." But lazima ikanyange vizu. I never understood what she meant. But now, I can put on the shoe very comfortably. Thank you to my mother. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Daktari, you can now take your seat. We are about to break for lunch. We have one presenter who was scheduled to present in this panel and did the presentation the other end, and therefore will not be able to do her presentation here. However, we have one of our sponsors who is Doctors of Hearing, and because they have a booth outside there, allow me to give him 1 minute airtime to tell us what they do. Dr. Richard Mwangi, 1 minute of airtime belongs to you now. Dr. Mwangi, where are you? Richard Mwangi? All right then, so we have somebody to volunteer to do a word of prayer, pray for lunch, and then we break for lunch. Volunteer? Good. Karibu. So as she comes, thank you very much for being good participants. Let us clap for all of us. And a final clap for the presenters. Great, thank you.
My name is Jackie. I'm a mother to a cerebral palsy baby. Let us pray for lunch. Father in heavenly, we want to thank you, Jehovah God, for the session that we've had. Lord, as we break for lunch, mighty God, whatever food we shall take, mighty God, may it nourish us and give us energy, Jehovah God. And Lord, not forgetting those who are in lack, Jehovah God, in different parts of this country, God. Remember them, Jehovah God. In Jesus' name I pray and believe.
Protocol officers. So let us walk to the lunch area where we took our lunch yesterday.